Hey guys, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman, and it's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And it's also time for another episode of a fragrance battle. Today I'm going to compare two clones or two alternatives of one famous Hall of Fame fragrance that unfortunately has been discontinued. It comes from the brand of Mugler and it's called Havane Pure Havane, and it's an absolute masterpiece. And the two clone fragrances that I'm going to compare in today's video are from Maison Alhambra, Galactic Men Intense, and Insurrection 2 Wild from Rayhaan Tradition. So today I'm going to try to answer the question, which is the better clone of Pure Havane? As I said, for me personally, Pure Havane, Havane Pure Havane from Mugler is an absolutely fantastic fragrance, a masterpiece of a fragrance. One of the best designers, all-time best designer fragrances in my opinion, but just like almost everything else good from the Havane line, Mugler for some reason decided to discontinue this one. Nowadays it's very hard to find, prices can be very high on a full bottle, a full unsealed bottle of this fragrance, and that's really unfortunate because I think more people need to try this fragrance, need to experience this fantastic scent. It carries the Havane line of fragrances, that DNA that has a lot of aromaticness in it, that has some freshness, that has a signature patchouli note, but what has been added in the case of Pure Havane is more sweetness, more honey sweetness, more lavender, more vanillic sweetness, the note of cacao, and also quite a strong tobacco note. And it's a very masculine, very old school feeling scent. Again, it smells really nice, really classy, but has been discontinued. Now, up until recently, the only real option, at least from the Middle East, when it comes to a Pure Havane clone was Insurrection 2 Wild from Rayhaan Tradition, and this is a very nice scent on its own. But just recently, Latafa and Maison Alhambra launched their own version, their own clone, which is called Galactic Men Intense. Last week I did a full review of this fragrance, and I think because people have asked, and it's only normal to compare the one that the only previous clone from the Middle East that we had of Pure Havane and the most current one. So let's do that today. Let's try the fragrances. Let me quickly tell you how they compare to each other when it comes to the scent. First of all, let's check out the ugly and very hard to press sprayer on the bottle of Mugler. For some reason, to this day, Mugler Mugler sprayers, especially on the Havane line, have been horrible, and they've never really changed them. I don't know why. It's this kind of a sprayer doesn't suit a fragrance like Pure Havane. Now I'm going to spray Galactic Men Intense. This has a way better sprayer than the original fragrance. And let's spray Insurrection 2 Wild as well. This also has a good sprayer, better than the original scent. Now the original fragrance opens up, it's quite dark. There's a bit of that sort of aromatic nature from the lavender and a bit of a freshness in the opening. But it's quite dark. The tobacco note is present right from the get-go. That cacao note almost comes across a little bit like a coffee note, at least to my nose. But it's quite dark, it's quite sweet, with just a hint of freshness and a hint of aromaticness to the opening. But it's a sweet, dark, and quite an intense opening. When it comes to Galactic Men Intense, this opens up way fresher than the original fragrance. This has more lavender in it. This also has maybe something citrus in the opening, maybe a bergamot note, something that adds quite a bit more freshness in the opening. And the opening feels less intense, it feels more aromatic, and it definitely feels quite a lot fresher than Pure Havane. You still get some of the sweetness, some of the intensity of the sweetness, like the honey and the vanilla note, maybe a hint of the patchouli as well. But definitely this opens up way more aromatic and way fresher. And this, to my nose, the opening here of Galactic Men Intense actually feels like a mix between the OG Havane and Havane Pure Havane. When it comes to the opening of Insurrection 2 Wild, this actually feels closer to the original fragrance. It still feels a little bit more aromatic, slightly fresher, not as intense as Pure Havane, but definitely this feels a little bit closer. And I've always found that the opening of Insurrection 2 Wild actually feels like a mix between Pure Havane and Xerjov's Naxos, which Naxos a lot of people claim that has been inspired by Pure Havane, and this leans this leans to be like a mix of the opening of Pure Havane and Naxos. This feels a little bit less intense, feels a little bit less dark, a little bit less sweet than pure Havane, and feels a little bit more aromatic, not fresher, but definitely feels more aromatic with a stronger lavender note. When both clones go into their dry down, actually they become closer to the original scent, but still none of them really replicates truly that darkness of the original scent. I think they lack a bit of that patchouli sort of darkness and intensity. They lack a bit of the sweetness, they lack a bit of the strength of the of the tobacco notes, but on their dry downs definitely they get closer. But still, for me, the closer one to the dry down of the original fragrance out of the two clones remains Insurrection 2 Wild. Galactic Main Intense still feels slightly more fresh, slightly more aromatic on its dry down, and it still reminds me a little bit of the way that the original original Amen actually smells, with maybe even a hint of pure malt, the scent of pure malt thrown in some there just for good measure. So if I have to compare them when it comes to how close they smell to the original fragrance, definitely for me Insurrection 2 Out actually captures the original scent a little bit better from the opening through the dry down. When it comes to performance, the original fragrance has always been a good performer on my skin, giving me about 89 hours of performance. And to be honest, both both clone fragrances actually are giving me pretty much the same performance. And we're talking about roughly about 7.5 hours of performance, so slightly less of a performance, both of them compared to the original. But on their own, they actually, I would say, last pretty much the equal amount of time. When it comes to projection, initially Galactic Main Intense is a little bit better because it feels just a little bit sharper, a little bit fresher, a little bit more aromatic, and the initial projection for the first maybe like 20 to 30 minutes is in favor of Galactic Main Intense. But after that first half an hour passes, actually they sort of unequalize when it comes to projection, and they will project sort of moderately after that for about an hour and a half, total of hour and a half. Price wise, I paid for my bottle of Insurrection 2 Wild a while ago. I paid I think around about 25 euros, which is roughly the same amount of money that I paid for Galactic Main Intense. So at least in my personal case, both of them were sort of equally priced. When it comes to versatility, I would say that both are a little bit more versatile than the original, because both of them feel a little bit more aromatic, both of them feel a little bit fresher in the air, especially Galactic Main Intense, and they can be worn in warmer weather as well. Again, just a few final words and to quickly sum up the results of today's episode of A Fragrance Battle. For me personally, the fragrance that gets closer, the clone that actually gets closer to the original scent, will still be Insurrection 2 Wild from Rayhaan Tradition. I think it captures a little bit better the spirit, the scent DNA of the original fragrance, and from the opening to the dry down, this smells a little bit closer to the original scent. It still is not a one-to-one clone. For me, this has always smelled a little bit like a mix between Pure Havane and Naxos, but definitely I think this feels closer to the original scent. In the case of Galactic Main Intense, this feels like a fresher and like a more aromatic take on the original scent. On the dry down will get you somewhat close to Pure Havane, but I think Insurrection 2 Wild is the better choice if you're looking for something that will get you closer to Pure Havane. So the sort of the scientific winner in today's episode of Fragrance Battle will be Insurrection 2 Wild, and this will also be my personal winner because I like the scent of Insurrection 2 Wild just a little bit better. And so guys, in today's episode of Fragrance Battle, I compared two clones of a Hall of Fame discontinued designer fragrance from Mugler, Amen Pure Havane. Insurrection 2 Wild from Rayhaan Tradition and Galactic Main Intense from Maison Alhambra. I hope that you found this video interesting to watch. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me tomorrow for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.